What it do, Misfit family? We're back here for episode 6 of the Reynolds Sports Report. I'm your host, Jude Reynolds Ocanas, as always, and I hope you guys are having a pleasant Thursday afternoon. It's about 3:45 p.m. here in Los Angeles. It's certainly a beautiful day. The weather has just continuously gotten better throughout the week. But we got some big news to talk about. We're going to be talking about NBA. We got the NBA Finals just around the corner. Game 6, Pacers Thunder. That's going to tip off at 5:30. We got some college football news to talk about. We're going to bring back the MLB with talking about one of the best pitchers, or I should say one of the best up-and-coming pitchers in the show right now. But I got to start with the biggest news of it all. That is the Los Angeles Lakers have now sold their majority share to Mark Walter for $10 billion. If you're not aware, the Buss family has owned the Los Angeles Lakers, or the majority share, I should say, for the past 43 years. They were the longest tenured, ownership group, family, I should more likely say. And now they have just yesterday sold their majority share, like I said, for $10 billion to Mark Walter, who's part of the diversified holding company TWG Global. And this is a huge move because right now the Lakers, what had been for the past 43 years, was very much a family-run business, right? Jeannie Buss took over the controlling aspect of the organization in 2017. But when Dr. Jerry Buss passed away, unfortunately, in 2013, he gave over pretty much the organization to his 6 kids. Now, all 6 kids kind of had some capacities when they worked with the Los Angeles Lakers. But Jeannie Buss kind of oversaw everything and took a larger role compared to most others. So as it stands, Mark Walter just bought, along with his group, for $10 billion. And his group, the TWG Global, also has interest in the Los Angeles Dodgers, the Sparks, Chelsea, the Premier League team out in England. They also have, a few F1 cars that they own, as well as an entire professional women's hockey league. As it stands, Jeannie Buss, and so I think it's important to note that this isn't going to go into effect immediately, right? It takes about 1 to 2 years for things to really get going and Mark Walter to kind of, bring his visions and his kind of, I guess, true money to the table for the Los Angeles Lakers. So this isn't instantaneous. Obviously, it still has to get approved by the board, which it will most likely will be. The Busses will keep about what they say, about 15% over some period of time. And Jeannie Buss will now be the governor of the Los Angeles Lakers. For people that don't really know the governor, they kind of go to board meetings. They don't really have a direct influence in exactly what the team does itself, but they're a part of the organization. And so Jeannie Buss will stay as part of the organization. But it's funny to look back and see where this organization was back in 1979 when Dr. Jerry Buss bought this team for $67 million. $67 million. They just sold for $10 billion. It's unthinkable that they could even do that. So the Lakers will, for the past 43 years, won 11 championships. And in that time, they also, grew to fandom, right? They grew in Los Angeles. They were coming from Minneapolis. And I think that's the biggest thing that we have to understand. And before we move this team on to Mark Walter and the future of whoever else is going to be part of this ownership group, is really what the Busses did to make this, I guess the best way to say it is how they basically grew the NBA, but also how did they grow the Los Angeles Lakers? You have to remember in the 1980s, the NBA was kind of thought of as like secondhand entertainment. No one really thought, I'm going to an NBA game and I'm going to have the best time of my life. No, they were just like, okay, it's some cool activity. Tickets are probably $10, whatever. When Dr. Jerry Buss bought this team, he not only changed the culture around the Lakers, but also basketball. He made it fun. He said, okay, you're going to come to this game and you're not just going to enjoy what's on the court, because we're going to have a lot of great players. We're going to have Magic Johnson. We're going to have Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. We're going to have all these guys that are coming wear this Laker gold, but we're also going to make it an entertainment. You are going to come and watch this game and you're going to have a good time while doing it. And I think that is kind of what Dr. Jerry Buss and his lasting impact was on the Lakers. And obviously from then, the NBA kind of took a hold. It became a lot more of an entertainment centric. How can we appease the people in the stands beyond just what is happening in the game? So now we look at it and say, okay, now that Dr. J. Buss is no longer with us and Jeannie Buss has now sold the rights, what can we expect exactly from this new ownership group? Now, like I laid out in the beginning, Mark Walter also owns or has a majority stake in the Los Angeles Dodgers, the Sparks, but most notably it's the Los Angeles Dodgers. And he's owned them for the past 12 seasons. And so it starts by this. In the past 12 seasons, the Los Angeles Dodgers have won 11 of the 12 NL West division titles, and they've also won 2 World Series. But what does this mean for the Lakers? Because baseball and basketball are 2 separate things. So when you look at it from a basketball perspective, the first thing that it kind of jumps off the screen is the Los Angeles Lakers now have deeper pockets and can compete with the other big spenders in the NBA. There was a report that came out in 2024 noted that the general opinion around the NBA is that the Lakers front office is frugal, and some wonder if they can keep up with new owners coming into the NBA. As we've now seen in the NBA, there's a lot of private equity that's coming in. There's a lot of these, mass conglomerate businesses that are coming in and owning NBA teams, and they're able to put so much money forth. And like I mentioned from the top, the Los Angeles Lakers were looked at as a family-owned business. They barely went over the luxury tax. In 2023 and 2024, those seasons, the Lakers just went $6.9 million over the luxury tax, while you had teams like Golden State, Clippers, the Suns, Bucks, Celtics, the Nuggets, and even the Heat, who were all $15 million over, and it even exceeded for Golden State. They were close to the $140 million. Same with the Clippers, about $140 million. So the Lakers have never truly been able to compete. And it's crazy because it's the iconic name of the Los Angeles Lakers. So you would think that they can do that, but they haven't because they just haven't been willing to spend. And unfortunately, in the NBA now, obviously drafting and producing talent, we'll get to that in a sec, is very important. But at the same time, you need to have deep pockets. You need to have guys that are willing to spend when the general manager, and in this case would be Rob Pelinka, comes to Mark Walter and says, you know what, we are going to need this money because I believe this player right here, whether it's in free agency, whether we make this trade, he can change our organization. Now, luckily enough, they got Luka Doncic. So they don't, the Los Angeles Lakers, they don't have to come here and say, oh, we need to go trade for the successor to LeBron James, because unfortunately, Nico Williams already pressed the button to do that last season. So that makes Mark Walter's job a little bit easier than it was when he was coming into the Dodgers in 2012, and he was dealing with a lot of turnover. They weren't having much success, and so it's a little different of a situation that he's walking into with the Los Angeles Lakers. But I think the first biggest thing is obviously they now have bigger pockets. They can compete with the big spenders, even just across the street, Steve Ballmer, Mr. Microsoft. They can now compete with that. But I think what was interesting, and it helps because I was listening to ESPN LA yesterday, and it gave me a good sense into kind of the inside of what Mark Walter is as, kind of majority owner and kind of his role within the team. And everything that I was hearing was he's hands off in the sense that he's not going to try to be, it's about me. He's not going to put his face in front of everything they do. He's going to just be the one that is able to support the guys like Rob Pelinka, the other assistant GMs, the guys in the scouting department that need those resources to be able to be successful. When you go back to when Mark Walter joined the Los Angeles Dodgers in 2012, he was willing to make tough decisions. At that time, Ned Colletti was the general manager for the Dodgers. He oversaw drafting Kershaw and Corey Seager. However, the Dodgers really, they had multiple, playoff runs that just kind of spun out, and they weren't very successful. And while you could look at a guy, Ned Colletti, and you could say, okay, well, he did draft Kershaw. We did able to get Adrian Gonzalez during his tenure there. He drafted Corey Seager as well. Now, those are all guys that are likely going to go into the Hall of Fame, but we're not winning. And at the end of the day, the most important thing and what Mark Walter is so emphatic about is winning, excellence, success. And so he said, you know what? We're going to go somewhere else. We're going to go with Andrew Friedman, who was at that time with the Tampa Bay Rays. And you know what they did? They pulled him, and ever since they haven't looked back. Andrew Friedman hired Dave Roberts, and say what you want, Dave Roberts, there is no doubt in that he did not have great moments, especially in the playoffs. But Walter was willing to get the guys that he knew was going to win, and eventually it worked out. They've now won 2 World Series. They've won pretty much 11 of the last 12 NL West division titles. And so I think to wrap up this point is it's not only coming from a spending aspect with this Mark Walter, is they are now going to do what it takes to win in whatever capacity that is. The money's not just going to go to players. It's going to go to the scouting department. It's going to go to player development. Where the money's going to go is how it's going to grow the organization full circle. Right. I think what the Lakers had previously done was, we can just get the marquee name and we can win a championship. That's not the case anymore. That's not the case anymore. You need to be able to build a well-rounded team. The teams that we are seeing having success in the Western and the Eastern Conference are teams that don't just rely on one star player to win it all. And unfortunately, I love LeBron James. He's 40 years old, and as great as he is and as highly ranked he is going to be when it comes to all-time players, he's unfortunately not going to be able to win a championship by himself. And same with just Luka Doncic. I mean, I love the both of them, but you need bench, you need depth, you need guys that can you surround. And so that's why I think this move is so major in that sense. But moving forward, and we're going to continue the conversation about money because it really does kind of run everything in sports. I got to talk about LaNorris Selles, the current quarterback at the University of South Carolina. Now, if you don't know much about LaNorris Selles, he was the 2024 SEC Freshman of the Year. He threw for about 2,534 yards, had 18 passing touchdowns, just 7 interceptions, while also running for 674 yards, 7 rushing touchdowns. He became just the third player in FBS history, I should say quarterback in FBS history, as a freshman to throw for 2,500 yards and rush for 500 yards. The other two, Johnny Manziel and Jalen Hurts. He also led South Carolina to their best record, 9-4 in the Shane Beamer era. Now, why am I telling you all these stats about this guy out in University of South Carolina? What I want to say is the fake USC, but I'll hold my comments for another time. Because LaNorris Selles just recently, in an article published by The Athletic, and his father actually came out and said this, recently turned down an $8 million NIL deal with another school, reaffirming his commitment to South Carolina. And the reason I want to talk about this specifically is because, one, I think we are so messed up in the mind right now as the college football landscape continues to grow, and we see just so many different avenues of where money's coming in. And we really think of it now as just a semi-professional football league. Am I wrong? But what I think is really cool about this, now granted, LaNorris Selles right now, he is making $3.7 million on an NIL deal in South Carolina. So it's not like he's not making any money. That's not why I'm making this point. But we are so, we're so clouded by the idea that all these kids want is money. Like that is all we are considered these kids want. They just want money. That's it. They don't really care about the game itself. And it's a great quote right here from Selles, who even said, "I've been playing football all my life for free. I've built relationships in South Carolina. My family's here. My brother's here. There's no reason for me to go someplace and start over." And it's tough for me to be like, well, I wish every kid could take this mindset, because you know what? Not every kid could be put in a position like LaNorris Selles. But I do wish that some people maybe took just the advice of what he is saying right here. Look, sure, the money is great, and I'm not denying it. Look, if you handed me a check of $8 million, of course I would think about it. It's $8 million, right? That's game-changing money, especially. And I've been privileged enough in my life to have both supporting parents on both sides. But if you're someone that's coming with maybe a one-parent household, or maybe no parents, and you really had to raise your brothers or sisters, and you just come from an unfortunate situation, of course money is going to always sound better. But if you're talented and you actually truly and you have the skill, what it takes to make it to the professional level, then you should go to the program that truly values you, that is going to want the best for you, that is going to want to make you succeed so that you can reach your dreams of making it to the NFL. And so, first of all, I think the important thing to realize from this is, and this was a quote here from LaNorris Selles' father, who said, "You're 19, you don't need $8 million, you're in a great spot. There were several talks, but it never really crossed his mind. It's a challenge with colleges offering young guys that kind of money. Who's going to say no to $8 million for 2 years? They're going to be swayed if you don't have the right people in your corner." And I think this goes to a larger discussion of, if you want to, whatever you want to do in life, it is super important that you have people that you can trust in your inner circle And when I mean inner circle, those are your close friends. Those are your people that you come to and you make the tough decisions with. And so luckily for LaNorris Selles, he has that. And so I guess what I'm trying to get at is not every kid is in it for the money, right? So this idea that when I hear it on shows and like, oh, like college football is all the same, like every kid is just going to go where the money is. That's not the case. LaNorris Selles just turned down $8 million. And sure, he's making $3.7 million, but $8 million sounds about double of that, if not more. And then it goes to show that the NFL, I mean, that's what I'm thinking of when I talk about college football now. No, the college football landscape is a madhouse. And this is how much money is now being tossed around. And when I look at it, it's like, okay, now what is the future of this? If we're sitting in 2025, when 2 years ago, we were only talking about, oh, maybe there's a potential they're just going to give $2 million to a kid. Yeah, now we're talking about double digits, 8 figures type of millions. I mean, Arch Manning right now is according to on3.com, has the highest NIL valuation, $6.8 million. Look, I get it. This is what, and this will, I'll finish off on this. The money will always be there. But the grass is not always greener on the other side. Especially in college football, where you really only have 4 years, if that, to prove yourself at an NFL level. Look, I get the money is great, but don't always chase the money. If you really think what you've got to take to the next level, then trust your coaches, whatever organization you're at, and then you can cash in for the big paycheck when you make it to the NFL. But like I said, I'm not in every kid's shoes. I can't be. And I know there's other kids that come from less fortunate situations. And you look at money like that and you say, this could honestly change my family at the age of 19 years old. And so I'm not saying don't take the money, but I personally think if you have what it takes, don't just go because the money's calling you. Always trust your inner circle. And so moving forward, I got to talk about this just for a tad, just for a second, because, and to be honest, there's not really a lot of smoke to this. But as you see on your screen, should the Pirates move on from Paul Skenes? The reason I'm asking this question is because I've seen a lot of rumors recently that says, oh, Paul Skenes should be traded to the Dodgers, the Yankees, pretty much every big market team in the country, right? And this is why I said I don't give much validity to this topic, because the Pirates have remained firm that they have no intention to trade him. But I do want to mention this because I think this is what frustrates me about the Major League Baseball Association. Or this is just what frustrates me about the MLB. We'll keep it that. Trading a guy like Paul Skenes would obviously be great for any team that gets him. Would be 100% be great for any team that gets him. But then you have it on the other side where it's like, if the Pittsburgh Pirates really trade Paul Skenes, as a fan, can you actually ever root for that team again? I mean, I would say, granted, Luka Doncic has way more of an impact on the Dallas community than Paul Skenes has in his 2 years. So I'm not saying it's impact-wise. I'm just saying it's that level of trading a player. Like, if I'm a Pittsburgh Pirates fan, and I get it, the team sucks, okay? They're last in the NL Central. They're 30th in runs per game. They're 28th in hits. They're tied for 30th in home runs. They're 29th in batting average. They stink. But trading a guy like Paul Skenes is like ripping out someone's heart. I mean, I get it. Obviously, you want Paul Skenes in big market, but yet again, that's where it goes to my problem with with MLB. Like, people are okay with having these small market teams never succeed and just the other teams prosper off their talent. Other teams just take their players and make them a bigger name because now they're in a big market. Not because they really increase their talent, because Paul Skenes right now is leading the league in ERA at 1.78, leading the season in games started, has one complete game on this season, has 97 strikeouts and 96 innings pitched, and has a league-leading only 5.6 hits across 9 innings average. If you trade Paul Skenes, I get it. He's going to have a bigger name. He's going to be on a bigger market. But I don't think it's good for the MLB when they do stuff like this. Now, if they do, and I can understand, I can understand if the Pirates eventually trade him, because at the end of the day, they would be wasting his talent. But I do think at the end of the day, it's not something that's good for the MLB if this happens. Because this is just a reoccurring circle that we see every single season. And I'll get to Will Pitt's comment if you're still listening. Always good to hear from you. Look, I get it. I will always advocate for kids taking their money. But at this point, they're making so much money that the difference between $3.7 million and $8 million, I would rather, if you're making less money, and that's grand if you're still making money. So I don't disagree. I don't disagree at all. And next season isn't promised. So I do agree with both of your comments. I'm not saying that none of that is incorrect, but I will say that the grass is not always greener. If you're going to only make $2 million more, $3 million more, and you go to a program and you realize, oh, that's not the scheme that fits me. That's not the right coach that I needed. Look, the money's great, but if that messes up your draft stock, look, the NFL might not be guaranteed. You know what I'm saying? So I agree with your comments. I don't think you're wrong. I will always advocate, take your money when you can. The grass is not always greener on the other side. And we'll finish off with this. And I appreciate you all for tuning in wherever you may be listening, whether it's live right now or it's a post recording. But we'll finish off with this because I've had a long week, guys. I mean, I'm going to be honest. I called, I'm about to go do the FIFA World Cup. Look, I called a 3.5-hour baseball game yesterday. It was the longest baseball game I've ever called in my career. And I have to tell you, I came home and I needed to sit down and relax. So I don't want to keep you guys too long. But lastly, we'll finish off with this Pacers Thunder Game 6 preview. I think it's pretty quick. Gonna be honest with you. I think Thunder just take this in 6. Like, I mean, is there anything else I need to say? Tyrese Halliburton, he's gonna play. He's injured. And Jalen Williams had 40 points. Shai Gilgeous had 31 in Game 5. What spoke out to me the most was the Thunder defense, man. Like, they are going to show up when they needed the most, and I believe that's going to be the case today again. The Pacers had 23 assists on 23 turnovers. Enough said. So I think Thunder are going to take it in 6. Congratulations to them, man. I mean, they deserve it. They truly deserve it. And if any guys deserve it, it's Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, who's been through the thick and thin with this team. Even guys like Chet Holmgren, who dealt with an injury his rookie year. So, like I said, shout out to them. I think I think Thunder are gonna get it done, but I don't want to keep you guys too long. It's a Thursday. Go enjoy it. Go enjoy the rest of your afternoon, your night, whatever you may be doing. But always remember, stay safe. But I've been Jude Reynolds Ocanas here on the Reynolds Sports Report this Thursday. I'll see you guys back for another week in action on Monday. Stay cool. I'll see y'all later.